Every night, before you sleep, you hand your soul back to Allah, and most people do it without saying a word. But what if I told you that one dua, said sincerely before sleeping, can change the way Allah opens doors for your rizq, doors you didn't even know existed? Rizq is not just money. Rizq is peace. Rizq is opportunities. Rizq is help arriving at the exact moment you need it. And Allah controls all of it. The Prophet taught us that the night is not just for rest. It is a moment of trust. A moment where you admit, "Why, Allah, I have done what I can. Now I leave everything to you." Before you close your eyes tonight, say this dua with your heart fully present. Allahumma inni aslamtu nafsi ilayk, wa fawwadtu amra ilayk, wa wajjahtu wajhiya ilayk, wa aljatu zari ilayk, ragbatan wa rabatan ilayk, la malja wa la manja minka illa ilayk. Rizq is often misunderstood. When most people hear the word, their minds immediately go to money, salary, business, bills, and bank accounts. But in Islam, rizq is far greater and far deeper than numbers or currency. Rizq is anything Allah provides that sustains you, benefits you, or brings ease into your life. It is the breath you took without asking for it. It is the morning you woke up to without guarantee. It is the strength in your body, the clarity in your mind, and the calm in your heart. All of this is rizq, and every bit of it comes from Allah alone. Money can increase and still leave a person empty, anxious and restless. There are people with full wallets but heavy hearts, people with luxury but no peace, people surrounded by others yet deeply lonely. At the same time, there are those with modest means, whose hearts are content, whose sleep is peaceful, and whose lives feel rich in ways money could never buy. This is because real wealth is not measured by what you own, but by what Allah places in your heart. Contentment is rizq. Inner peace is rizq. A heart that trusts Allah in difficulty is rizq. Rizq also appears in the form of protection. Every accident that did not happen, every harm that was diverted, every wrong turn that saved you from something worse, this too is rizq. Allah provides not only by giving, but also by withholding. What you did not receive may have been a mercy you do not yet understand. Sometimes the closed door is rizq, because it keeps you away from what would have broken you. Sometimes the delay is rizq, because it prepares you for something better than what you asked for. Opportunities are rizq. The right conversation at the right time, the unexpected advice, the chance meeting that changes your direction, these are not coincidences. They are provisions written for you long before you recognized your need for them. Even guidance is rizq, the ability to turn back to Allah, to make dua, to feel regret, to desire closeness to Him. These are among the greatest forms of provision. Many people are alive, but not everyone is guided. If Allah has given you a heart that remembers Him, that is a gift beyond measure. Rizq is also ease during hardship. It is the patience Allah places in your heart when you feel overwhelmed. It is the strength to keep going when life feels heavy. It is hope appearing at the darkest moment, reminding you that Allah has not abandoned you. Even the tears you shed in sincerity are rizq, because they soften the heart and draw you closer to the one who can heal it. Understanding rizq in this way changes everything. You stop chasing provision with desperation and start seeking it with trust. You realize that no human can block what Allah has written for you, and no effort can force what He has not decreed. Your role is not to worry about how rizq will come, but to remain connected to the one who provides it. When you understand that rizq is everywhere, in seen and unseen ways, you learn to recognize Allah's generosity in every moment of your life. The night is not just a pause between two busy days. In Islam, the night is a sacred transition, a moment where control quietly slips from our hands and returns to Allah. Every time you lay your head on the pillow, you are admitting something powerful, even if you don't say it out loud. You are admitting that no matter how much you planned, worried, or tried to manage everything, you cannot guarantee that you will wake up again. Sleep is a small death, and waking up is a mercy renewed. Throughout the day, we carry the illusion of control. We make decisions, respond to messages, solve problems, and convince ourselves that everything depends on our effort alone. But at night, that illusion fades. Your body shuts down without asking permission. Your mind slows. Your strength leaves you. You are forced into surrender. This is why the night is such a profound moment for faith. It reminds the believer that true power does not belong to them, but to Allah alone. Surrender at night is different from surrender during the day. During the day, we are distracted by noise, movement, and responsibility. At night, the world becomes quiet, and the heart becomes louder. Thoughts you pushed away return. Worries about provision, family, future, and unanswered prayers begin to surface. This is not a weakness, it is an invitation. Allah allows the silence of the night so the believer can finally turn to Him without interruption. When you surrender your night to Allah, you are saying, "Lie Allah, I have done what I can with the limited ability you gave me. Now I place my affairs in your hands." This surrender is not passive or hopeless. It is active trust. It is recognizing that Allah sees what you cannot see, knows what you do not know, and plans with a wisdom far beyond human understanding. The heart that understands this sleeps differently. It sleeps with reliance instead of fear. The Prophet taught specific du'as before sleeping, because sleep is not a meaningless act. It is an act of worship when done with intention. When a believer remembers Allah before closing their eyes, they transform rest into trust. They hand over their fears, regrets, and uncertainties to the one who never sleeps. Allah does not tire. Allah does not forget. Allah does not lose control while you rest. Knowing this brings a peace that no worldly reassurance can provide. Night surrender also humbles the heart. It reminds you that you are not self-sufficient. You need Allah for your next breath, your next heartbeat, your next moment of life. This humility softens the soul and removes arrogance. It teaches you that asking Allah is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of understanding reality. The strongest hearts are the ones that rely on Allah most deeply. When you surrender your night, Allah grants you more than rest. He grants tranquility. He places barakah in your sleep and clarity in your waking. You rise with a heart that is lighter, because it is not carrying what it was never meant to hold. You begin to understand that the night was never meant to be filled with anxiety, but with trust. And when a believer truly surrenders their night to Allah, they wake up under His care, protected, provided for, and guided in ways they may not even realize yet. A single dua may seem small on the tongue, just a few words spoken in a quiet room, but in reality it can carry a weight heavier than mountains. The power of a dua does not come from how long it is, or how beautifully it is recited, but from the state of the heart that makes it. When a dua is made with sincerity, humility, and complete awareness of Allah, it has the ability to transform the inner world of a person. And when the inner world changes, the outer world begins to follow. Many people make dua while their hearts are distracted, rushing through words without truly feeling them. But when a person pauses, slows down, and speaks to Allah as if no one else exists, something shifts. The heart moves from tension to release, from fear to trust. That shift alone is a mercy. A heart weighed down by worry sees life through the lens of anxiety, while a heart that relies on Allah sees life through hope, patience, and certainty that nothing happens without purpose. When you make a sincere dua before sleep, you are choosing to end your day not with stress, but with connection. You are telling your heart that it is safe to rest, because Allah is watching over what you cannot control. This change in state is subtle but powerful. It affects the way you sleep, the way you wake up, and the way you face the next day. A heart that trusts Allah is not easily shaken by uncertainty, because it knows that outcomes belong to Him alone. This inner shift invites barakah. Barakah is not always something you can see immediately, but you can feel it. It appears as ease in matters that once felt heavy, clarity in decisions that once felt confusing, and patience in situations that once felt unbearable. Barakah flows when the heart is aligned with reliance on Allah, because reliance opens the door to divine assistance. When you stop clinging to outcomes and start trusting the One who controls them, life begins to unfold with less resistance. A sincere dua also trains the heart to return to Allah repeatedly. Each night becomes a reminder that no matter how the day went, whether you succeeded or failed, whether you felt strong or weak, Allah remains the same. He is always listening. This consistency builds spiritual strength. Over time, the heart becomes more stable, less reactive, and more grounded in faith. Worries no longer dominate, because the heart has learned where to place them. It is important to understand that the immediate result of a sincere dua is not always a visible change in circumstances. Often, the first gift Allah gives is internal. He replaces restlessness with calm, confusion with clarity, and despair with hope. This internal transformation is what prepares a person to receive external blessings. Without it, even the greatest gifts can become sources of anxiety rather than gratitude. When the heart shifts, actions shift. A person who trusts Allah moves differently through life. They speak with more patience, choose with more wisdom, and respond with more restraint. Opportunities that once went unnoticed become clear. Doors open not because of force, but because the person is spiritually ready to walk through them. This is how a simple dua, made sincerely, becomes a catalyst for change. In the quiet of the night, when distractions fade and the soul is most honest, a single dua can reset the heart. It can remind you who is in control, where your reliance belongs, and why you do not need to carry the weight of the world alone. And when the heart changes in this way, it creates space for Allah's mercy, guidance, and barakah to enter, gently, perfectly, and at the right time. True reliance on Allah is not a slogan spoken when things are easy, nor is it a passive attitude of doing nothing and waiting for miracles. Tawakkul is a deep, living belief that settles in the heart and shapes the way a person moves through life. It is the certainty that while you are responsible for effort, many people set goals hoping those goals will change their lives entirely to Allah. They write down when this understanding becomes real, what they want to have, it changes the way Rizq enters or where they want to be in the future. But goals alone rarely create lasting trying to control every detail. The reason is simple behavior doesn't come from goals. It comes from identity and security. What you consistently do, everything depends solely on a reflection of who you believe and intelligence. Until that this mindset creates anxiety, progress will always feel forced was never designed to carry that level of control. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person frees the heart from this burden. It teaches the believer that Allah, His you reinforce the identity of someone who is disciplined, and that no provision arrives when you follow through on by mistake. You strengthen the identity of someone who can be trusted, even if it must travel across the world. Over time, these small acts shape does not make a person lazy. This is why lasting change happens. It gives behavior aligns with identity. Not when it relies on motivation, but you do not panic when results are delayed. Many people try to change their lives by chasing outcomes. Do not lose your peace when they say they want to be healthier, this balance is more confident because it aligns the believer with divine wisdom. But they focus only on the result. When effort is paired with trust, required to achieve Allah places barakah identity-based change flips small actions begin to produce greater results. And doors do I want to achieve? You ask, Rizq flows differently. Who do I want to become? Who truly relies on Allah? That question shifts your focus from distant results to present behavior. More dramatic. You start steadier like the person you want to be. The heart is not constantly asking it. This shift removes pressure, because no longer need to transform overnight what is lost with something immediately, even if that replacement comes in a different form. One small action at a desperation. A confident person is often what blocks clarity and wise decision making. A disciplined person follows through when a person practices tawakkul. They begin to notice how Allah opens doors even when distractions are tempting. These actions may seem small, but repeated daily, solutions appear after moments of surrender. Identity shapes reveal hidden wisdom, and habits shape outcomes. Even difficulties begin when your actions are aligned with your identity. Because the heart understands consistency that Allah becomes easier without purpose. You're no longer fighting yourself. This awareness transforms instead of relying on motivation into lessons and setbacks, you rely on self-concept rather than punishment. You don't ask whether you feel like also protects the heart from envy. You do it because it's comparison. Who you are. This creates stability when you trust in progress and reduces the emotional measuring your provision against that derails so many others. You understand that everyone is given change also builds self-trust. Each time you act in alignment, one person may harm another, and what is delayed yourself for you may be a powerful message. You are capable. This acceptance brings contentment. This trust compounds. Contentment itself is a form of believe in your ability to handle challenges, but never find, adapt, and grow. As tawakkul deepens, confidence becomes a byproduct of evidence. Fear of loss, positive thinking, fear of failure all begin to fade. This approach also allows room for life becomes predictable. Identity is not destroyed by a single mistake. Missing a day or falling short no situation define you is greater than Allah's power. What matters is the pattern you return to. And no problem is outside His control. When identity is the foundation, allows the believer to move forward with courage, not even in uncertainty. You don't quit because you don't see yourself as someone who gives up. It carries peace. You simply adjust and continue. It does not steal sleep. When you choose identity over outcomes, it fits naturally into your decisions become clearer. Arriving at the right to ask and in the right measure. What would the person I want to be doing in this situation? Even when risk seems scarce, that question cuts through excuses and distractions because it is anchored to the one who never runs out. It simplifies choices and strengthens discipline. This is the true opening that comes with reliance on Allah. Those decisions create a life guided by trust and intentional rather than divine care, and exhausting, and sustained by a peace that true transformation happens quietly. It happens when you consistently act in ways not limited to the paths we recognize or the plans no one carefully construct. Many identity shapes behavior shapes habits they can trace, and habits shape your doors life. They personally knock when you change who you believe or you opportunities they actively everything pursue. Else follows. But one of the most powerful realities of faith, the power of gratitude, is understanding that Allah because they confuse doors. It with being satisfied never even or settling. To approach. They think that appreciating paths what they have none seem giving to exist up on wanting more. And brings provision from directions. In reality, gratitude does the opposite. It strengthens your mindset. We become fixated on a single focus. We convince ourselves that if one door does not open, and nothing else forward. This narrow gratitude is not about frustration and despair. It's about when changing the way you see your life. Expected. But Allah's wisdom is far greater. The human mind naturally pays more attention when one door remains closed than to what is present. It is rarely the end. It is a redirection. Base tendency behind that closed door may be in a constant state of dissatisfaction or a burden you were not no matter how much progress they make. It never feels like enough. Blocks certain paths. Gratitude interrupts this pattern even when you do not understand it. When you consciously acknowledge Rizq what is already comes working, from unexpected your brain begins to register sweetness instead of threat because it arrives without this shift reduces stress soul and creates mental space for the believer that creativity does not gratitude changes how you experience challenges. He only needs your trust. When you focus only on a single conversation, a chance every setback feels like a sudden idea that you're failing or a moment of guidance. But when gratitude is part of your daily mindset, challenges feel more not accidents. They are divine to see them as temporary and solvable before you were rather aware than permanent and overwhelming. Sometimes Allah opens doors through resilience. Instead of giving up, like the first sign of difficulty, you're more likely to adapt. During these periods, your character is practicing refined, gratitude also strengthens motivation, and your dependence when you recognize progress deepens, even small progress. When the door finally opens, you reinforce the desire to keep going with wisdom and gratitude. Many people rather than arrogance because they can't succeed. Had it opened because they don't see evidence, you might not have been ready to receive it properly. Gratitude highlights that this way. Delay itself becomes it reminds you how far you've come. Allah also how much you've learned through people and how capable you are. A kind word, sincere this advice, sense of progress or unexpected persistence can become gratitude the key to improves emotional regulation. These people when emotions run high, they are sent easy to react impulsively or negatively. Carrying exactly gratitude creates a grounding effect. When you look back, You
It
realize
brings you
that
back
Allah
to the
arranged
present moment
meetings
and
and
helps you
relationships
respond
with
with
clarity
precision,
rather than
aligning
frustration.
hearts and circumstances
Over time,
in ways no
this leads to
human
better
planning
decision.
could achieve, making
There
it
are also
healthier
doors that
relationships.
open internally before they open
You
externally.
become less reactive and more intentional.
A shift in mindset,
how you communicate and
a moment
act.
of clarity.
Another powerful
or a
aspect
renewed
of
sense of
gratitude
purpose
is how it
can become the
reshapes
foundation
identity.
for external change.
When
you
Allah
regularly
opens your
acknowledge the
understanding,
good in your life,
He is preparing
you begin
you
to see yourself as
someone
and
who
receive
is
what is
supported,
coming,
capable.
Without this
resourceful.
internal opening,
this self,
even
visible
visible
opportunities
opportunities
can be wasted
People who
or
feel
misunderstood.
supported are more likely
the
to
believer
take
who
risks,
understands this no longer
pursue
panics
growth
when
and
doors
believe in their
close.
ability to overcome
Instead,
obstacles.
they pause and reflect.
Gratitude strengthens
They ask
that
Allah
internal
for guidance
foundation
rather than
Gratitude
forcing outcomes.
also improves consistency.
This patience attracts
when
divine
you
help
appreciate the
because it
opportunity
shows
to work
trust
on
in Allah's
yourself
plan
rather than viewing it as a
When
burden.
you stop trying to push
Effort
every
feels
door
lighter.
open yourself,
Discipline becomes an
you
act
allow
of
Allah
self
to open the right ones
respect
for you
instead of self-punishment.
at the right time and in the right way.
You stop asking why
Rizq
things are
comes
so
from
hard
unseen doors
and start
strengthens
recognizing
faith.
the privilege of being able to try.
It reminds you
This
that Allah
mindset
is
makes
always working
behind
behind the
term effort
scenes,
sustainable, even when nothing seems
It's
to be
important to
happening.
understand
It
that
teaches you that your
gratitude
job is
doesn't
not
require
to control
perfect
every
circumstances,
outcome, but to
You
remain
don't
sincere,
wait until life improves
patient,
to practice
and connected
it.
to
You
Him.
practice it so life can improve.
When Allah opens a door you never
Even in
knocked on,
difficult moments,
it is a sign
there
of
is
His
something to
generosity
acknowledge,
and care.
a lesson
It is
learned,
His way of
strength
telling you
gained, that He
or
heard
support
your
received.
silent prayers.
These small
Understood
acknowledgments
your
build
unspoken
emotional
struggles
endurance over
and
time.
provided for you in a way only
When gratitude becomes
He
a
could
daily
design.
habit,
Real change
your
in life
mindset
rarely
shifts
comes
from
from
a
scarcity
single
to
emotional
abundance.
moment.
You stop feeling
comes
like
from
life
what
is
is constantly
repeatedly
taking
taking
from you,
consistently,
and start recognizing
and sincerely
what it's
over
giving.
time. In the
This
spiritual
shift
life
doesn't
of a
eliminate
believer,
challenges.
consistency is
but
what
it
turns
changes
simple
how you
actions
face them
into sources
Gratitude
of
doesn't make you
transformation.
passive.
It makes you stronger.
When something is done
more
regularly
focused,
for the sake of
and
Allah,
more resilient,
it begins to shape
and
the
from
heart,
that mindset,
the mind,
real and lasting
eventually
change
the direction
becomes
of a
possible.
person's life.
Many people wait for motivation
This is
to
why
arrive
small,
before taking
consistent
action.
acts hold
but
such immense
motivation
power.
is unreliable. When a believer
It comes
comes
and
to
goes like
remembering
the weather,
Allah every night before
unpredictable
sleeping,
and often short-lived.
they are not just
Relying
reciting
on
words.
motivation
They are
alone
training
is
their
one
soul.
of the biggest obstacles
Night
to
after
lasting
night,
change.
the heart is reminded
Real
where safety
transformation
truly
doesn't
lies,
come from waiting
and
to
who
feel
is ultimately in
inspired.
control.
It comes
This
from
repetition
showing up
builds familiarity
consistently,
with trust.
even when you don't feel
At
like
first,
it.
the mind may still
Consistency,
wander,
not
and
fleeting
worries may
emotion,
still surface,
is what creates results
but with
over time.
consistency, the heart
The
slowly
problem with
learns
motivation
to let go.
is that it
becomes
depends
easier
on
to
external
surrender
circumstances.
fears, easier to place
good day,
concerns in
a
Allah's
compliment,
hands,
or a burst
and
of
easier to
energy
rest
can give
without
you a
anxiety.
But what happens when the day is
also
hard?
deepens
The
sincerity.
energy is
What
low,
begins as an
or the
intentional
circumstances
practice
aren't
can
ideal.
become a natural reflex of
If
the
you've
heart.
relied on motivation, progress
Over time,
stops.
turning to
the
Allah
people who
before
change their
sleep
lives are
feels
those
less
who act
like an
regardless
effort
of feelings,
and more like a need.
They create
The
a system
believer
that does
begins to
not
feel
rely on
incomplete
willpower
without that moment of
or
connection.
chance.
Consistency
This is a
builds
sign of
momentum.
spiritual growth.
When you take action
because
every
the
day,
heart has
even
found
in
its
small
anchor.
ways, your
When
brain
this
starts
connection
to
is
expect
strong,
that behavior.
the ups and downs of life
Your habits
no longer
solidify,
shake a person as easily.
and what once felt difficult
Transformation
becomes
through
natural.
consistency is often
Momentum
subtle.
works like compounding interest.
You may not notice
One day
dramatic
of
changes
action doesn't
overnight,
seem like much,
but gradually,
repeated
your
daily,
reactions begin
those
to change.
actions accumulate into
Situations that once triggered panic now invite
This is why a
patience.
single minute,
Delays
repeated
that once
every
caused
day,
frustration
can
now
eventually change
inspire
your life.
reflection.
Motivation
This
may
internal
get you
shift is
started,
one of the greatest
but
signs
consistency
that Allah
keeps you
is
moving
working
forward.
within you.
Consistency
When the
also
heart
strengthens
changes,
self-trust.
life responds differently.
Every time you follow
Not
through
because
on a
problems
commitment,
disappear,
you send
but
a
because you
message to
face them
yourself
with faith
I
rather
am
than
reliable.
fear.
I can handle
Consistent
responsibility.
remembrance also builds
I can
resilience.
keep going even when it's hard.
Life will always carry
Over time,
uncertainty.
this trust
But a heart
compounds.
trained to rely on
You begin
Allah
to believe in your
does
ability
not
to
collapse
follow
under
through,
pressure.
not just when it's
Each
convenient,
night of surrender
but as a matter of
strengthens the soul.
principle. Motivation
Making it
comes
more
and goes,
capable of
but
handling what
self-trust
lies
lasts.
ahead.
This strength is not
Another
loud
benefit
or
of
boastful.
consistent action is
It is
resilience.
quiet and steady.
Life
It shows itself in perseverance,
and challenges are
calm
inevitable.
decision-making,
If your actions
and the
depend
ability to
solely on
continue
motivation,
even when outcomes are
setbacks
unclear.
can derail you completely.
Over time, consistency
But if your
attracts
practice is
barakah.
consistent,
Setbacks
often
become
appears as
temporary
ease in
pauses
routines
rather than
clarity in
complete
choices,
stops, and peace
you
in
develop the ability to
circumstances
adapt
that once felt
recover,
overwhelming, and
it may
continue
also
moving
appear as
toward your
protection
goals.
from harm you never saw coming.
Consistency creates a
These
foundation
blessings
that
are not
withstands
always
obstacles
visible immediately,
rather than collapsing
but they
under
accumulate.
pressure. Many
people underestimate
drops
the
of
power
water
of
shaping
stone. Consistent
actions.
reliance on Allah
They think
slowly
change
reshapes
requires
the
grand
believer's
gestures,
life. Long hours or dramatic
One of the
effort.
most beautiful aspects
In reality,
of consistency
Daily
that it
actions
aligns
create
the
habits that
believer
define
with
your
Allah's
future.
care.
When you show up night after
minute
night,
habit today becomes
Allah
10
places
minutes
special
tomorrow,
attention on your affairs.
and 10 minutes leads to an hour
Not because
over
Allah
weeks
needs
and months.
reminders.
Change
Because
doesn't
your
happen
persistence
overnight,
reflects
but
trust.
consistency ensures
It shows that you are not
steadily.
turning to Him.
The key
only
is
in
not to wait
crisis,
for perfection,
but in every
but to
state.
start and persist.
This kind of connection invites
Consistency
divine
also
support in
simplifies
ways
decision
that are
making.
deeply personal and
When
perfectly
showing up
timed.
becomes a habit,
You don't
in the
debate
end,
whether you feel
transformation
like it or not.
through consistency
You
is
don't
not
rely
about
on
perfection.
willpower in the
It is
moment.
about showing up sincerely.
You simply act
even
because
on
it is
difficult
part
days.
of your routine.
It is about choosing
This
Allah
removes
repeatedly,
friction and excuses
even when
from your
faith
path.
feels quiet.
You stop negotiating
and
with
through that
yourself,
steady choice,
and your energy
Allah transforms
can focus
the
on
heart,
doing the work,
opens
rather
paths
than
of
convincing
ease,
yourself to start.
and fills life with a sense of meaning.
Finally,
and
consistency
security
creates
that no
results
temporary
that motivate
solution could ever
themselves.
provide. Action breeds confidence, which encourages more action. As you see progress from your daily efforts, your desire to continue grows. You no longer need to wait for external motivation because your results provide proof that what you are doing works. Consistency creates a positive feedback loop. Small, repeated efforts lead to visible outcomes, which fuel further consistent action. True transformation is not about rare moments of inspiration. It's about daily decisions repeated over time, regardless of mood, energy, or circumstance. Motivation is fleeting. Consistency is permanent. When you commit to showing up every day, even in the smallest way, you create a system that guarantees growth, resilience, and success. One small step, repeated faithfully, can completely change your life.